A really bad smell, like something rotten, filled the air in Nithari, a town near Delhi, India. The stench was so overpowering that it made people cover their noses and mouths as they walked by. It was a smell that seemed to cling to the air, refusing to dissipate. It came from a drain clogged with trash, baking under the hot sun. The drain was filled with all sorts of refuse, plastic bags, rotting food, and other unidentifiable debris. Flies buzzed around it, adding to the sense of decay. It wasn't the normal smell of old garbage, this was the smell of death. The kind of smell that makes your stomach churn and your skin crawl. It was a smell that hinted at something far more sinister than just neglected waste. People, curious and nervous, came closer to the drain. They gathered in small groups, whispering among themselves, their faces etched with concern and fear. What could be causing such a terrible odor? Whispers started. Something was very wrong. The air was thick with tension as more and more people arrived, each one adding to the growing sense of unease. The whispers turned into murmurs, and the murmurs into a low hum of anxiety. Someone called the city, complaining about the terrible smell. The call was made with a sense of urgency. The caller's voice tinged with desperation. They needed someone to come and investigate, to find out what was causing this unbearable stench. No one knew this simple call would uncover a truly horrible secret, a story of terrible things that would forever change Nithari. The city official who answered the call could never have imagined the dark and twisted tale that was about to unfold. The drain, in its quiet, smelly way, was telling a story of evil waiting to be found. It was a silent witness to unspeakable horrors, a grim reminder that sometimes the most ordinary places can hide the darkest secrets. Before the bad smell, Nithari was a normal town. Regular houses, busy streets, just everyday life. But something scary was hidden underneath. Kids had disappeared before. Stories of a creepy figure hiding in the streets scared the children. Parents said it was just their imaginations. There were also secret stories about strange things happening at a big quiet house at the end of the street, but people ignored their fears, until the smell. The clogged drain, like a scary fortune teller, showed the town the dark secrets it tried to hide. The city workers came to clean the drain. It was a routine task, something they had done countless times before. Armed with their tools and protective gear, they approached the site, expecting to find the usual debris, leaves, plastic bottles, and other common trash that clogs the city's drainage system. They expected a normal, clogged drain, the kind that just needed a bit of elbow grease to clear out. They chatted among themselves, discussing their plans for the weekend, unaware of the horror that awaited them just beneath the surface. They weren't ready for what they found. As they began to remove the debris, their casual conversation halted abruptly. The expressions on their faces changed from boredom to shock and disbelief. The smell got worse as they opened the drain, a foul, putrid odor that was unlike anything they had ever encountered before. It was a smell that made their stomachs churn and their eyes water. Then, they saw it. A hand, pale and lifeless, sticking out from the muck. It was a sight that would haunt them for the rest of their lives. Small, dead, sticking out of the muck. The workers froze, unable to comprehend the reality of what they were seeing. This was no longer a simple cleaning job, it had turned into a nightmare. They were horrified. This wasn't just trash, this was evidence of something far more sinister. The realization hit them like a ton of bricks, and they knew they had to call the authorities immediately. This was a crime scene. The police arrived quickly, their sirens piercing the air. They cordoned off the area, turning the once mundane drain into a hub of activity and investigation. The police came, sirens screaming. Officers jumped out of their vehicles, assessing the situation with grim determination. They knew they were dealing with something serious, something that would require all their expertise and resources. People watched from their windows, shocked and scared. The neighborhood, usually quiet and peaceful, was now filled with the sounds of police radios and hushed conversations. Residents whispered among themselves, trying to make sense of the chaos unfolding before their eyes. The news spread fast. A child's body was found. Reporters flocked to the scene, eager to capture the story. Cameras flashed and microphones were thrust forward as journalists tried to get the latest updates from the authorities. The drain wasn't done telling its terrible story. The forensic team arrived, equipped with specialized tools and equipment. They began to dig deeper, carefully sifting through the muck and debris. More digging found more horrible things. Each discovery was more gruesome than the last. the workers and forensic team uncovered more body parts, each one telling a tragic story of its own. Body parts, small bones, pieces of clothing. The drain had become a graveyard, a silent witness to unspeakable acts. The small bones and tattered clothing were heartbreaking reminders of the innocent lives that had been lost. The drain was a secret graveyard, a silent sign of a nightmare no one imagined. It was a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk just beneath the surface, hidden in the most unexpected places. A team of the best detectives was put together, each one bringing their unique skills and experiences to the table. They were handpicked for their expertise and dedication to solving the most challenging cases. This was no ordinary investigation. It required the sharpest minds and the most determined spirits. Inspector Suresh Yadav was in charge, his face serious and determined. Known for his relentless pursuit of justice, Yadav had a reputation for cracking the toughest cases. His leadership was crucial in guiding the team through the complexities of this investigation. But his eyes showed the horror he felt inside. The weight of the case was heavy on his shoulders, and the gruesome details haunted him. He had seen bad things before, but nothing like this. The brutality of the crime was beyond anything he had encountered in his career. He had seen bad things before, but nothing like this. The scene was etched in his mind, a constant reminder of the evil they were up against. It was a test of his resolve, and his ability to lead his team through the darkest of times. Dr. Vinod Sharma, a scientist who studied dead bodies, was also on the team. His expertise in forensic science was invaluable. He had a keen eye for detail and a methodical approach to uncovering the truth hidden in the evidence. His job was to figure out what happened to the children. Every clue he found brought them one step closer to understanding the horrific events. His meticulous work was crucial in piecing together the puzzle of the crime. Everyone was watching, scared and wanting answers. The community was on edge, their fear palpable. They looked to the investigative team for hope, desperate for justice and closure. The team worked hard, wanting to find whoever did this and bring them to justice. They knew the stakes were high and failure was not an option. Their dedication was unwavering and they pushed themselves to the limit, determined to solve the case. They knew this wasn't a normal crime. The complexity and brutality of the case set it apart from anything they had dealt with before. It was a challenge that required all their skills and experience. This was the work of a monster, and they would find him. The team was united in their mission, driven by a shared sense of duty and justice. They vowed to bring the perpetrator to justice, no matter how long it took or how difficult the journey. The investigation led them to the big, quiet house at the end of the street. The house everyone whispered about. The house of Maninder Singh Pandar and his helper, Surinder Kohli. At first they denied everything, but there was too much evidence. The smell of death filled the house. The garden held a terrible secret. Bones, lots of them. Small skulls, tiny arm and leg bones, all thrown into shallow holes. The house wasn't just a house, it was a place where children were killed. The details were too horrible to understand. Torture, cannibalism, so many killings. It was a real-life nightmare. The Nithari killing shocked everyone in India and around the world. The country mourned the lost children, their lives taken away too soon. Nithari became known for this terrible story. The families of the victims were heartbroken. The community, feeling unsafe, lived in fear. Parents held their children tight, always looking around, worried about more bad things happening. The trial was long, but the evidence was clear. Pandar and Kohli were found guilty of their terrible crimes, but even justice couldn't heal the pain. The Nithari killings showed a very dark side of human nature, but even after the trial, questions remained. How could so many children be killed for so long, right in the middle of a town? Were other people involved? The Nithari killings remind us that evil can hide anywhere, even in ordinary places. And as time goes on, the questions remain, like a ghost hanging over Nithari. The drain is clean now, the house is gone, but the pain in Nithari and in India remains. The smell of evil, though not as strong, still lingers.